Hello, everybody. This is Man Alone, and I am a man alone, just playing some solo RPGs. And today we're doing Thousand Empty Light by Alfred Valley, which is a solo module for the Mothership RPG. This is the second episode of Solo Sidequest, which, in addition to the main campaign that I'm doing right now, I want to do intermittent episodes of Solo Sidequest where we play maybe some smaller games that are more one-shot, especially of the indie ilk, to get some exposure for these and to give my impression of them and do a little bit of a playthrough. And so that's what we're going to do today. And this is a very special occasion because, well, first of all, it's special because I think that this is a very special role-playing game, a very special experience, but it's also special because this was chosen based on audience voting, all of you, with the 37% of the total vote. This was chosen, and thank you to everyone who voted. Wow, there was over 30 votes, and I can say that because there were 31. And this, I was very surprised that this won. I was very delighted, but I was very surprised because there were so many other good choices up there. And this edged out Delve by Anna Blackwell by about 7%. And that's okay. I think that we can do Delve in a future episode still for those of you who voted for that. But I was very surprised and delighted to see this win because I have wanted to play through this for a while. And the reason that I have not played through it is not because absolutely not out of lack of interest or intimidation or anything like that, but because Thousand Empty Light is a little bit unique among solo games, or I should say the majority of solo games, in which it is, if you could think of other solo games as sort of like a season of television, this is more like a bottle episode. It's a self-contained module, and it is what we say in the literature biz, it's a diegetic text. And so what that means is that this manual right here is not for Malone. It's not for me to say, here's how you play this game. It is actually for my player character. And the whole thing is written as if you are an employee of the Hasmos Corporation, and this is the instruction manual that you have received in order to do this mission, okay? And everything has, I think Alfred Valley calls it psychedelic Xerox art. And so it has this very retro futurist kind of thing going on. You know, this could be the 80s, but like 2880. And it is a commentary on corporatism. It's also a commentary, I think, on loneliness. And I want to talk about this a little bit in my review. I want to give the review on several different levels. But before I get into that, I just want to say that we have the main campaign series. We have the Solo Sidequest. I wanted to have like a third project that I could, or a playlist that I could submit episodes to. And what I was thinking was a series called ASMR, which is a solo man role-playing. And the idea with those is we would take maybe perhaps RPGs such as this that are less about big explosions and boom, bap, bow, and maybe some more gentle journaling games or gardening, resource management games, stuff like that. And I would make longer videos in which I keep a sort of even voice and something that people could listen to as they go to bed. So if you would be interested in that, let me know in the comments, because I think that could, I think a lot of people do put these things on before they go to sleep. And if you're anything like me, you'll sometimes put something on when you go to sleep, and then all of a sudden 42 minutes later, you're woken up by like the person on the video screaming. And so I thought, hey, why not make an option where people can drift off to solo play while not being disturbed. So let me know your thoughts on that. Speaking of that, Alfred Valley is one of my favorite game designers. He also created a game called Lay on Hands, which is a game that is focused on the healer role. And recently just created a game for, and you know what? I can't remember the name of this. Maybe it'll come to me. Die Dream. That's right, Die Dream. And he made that for a like 1-page RPG jam. And it's a game that you could play in your head as you fall asleep. And I've tried it, and the rules, they work. It's really great. And so I just think he's an extremely creative person. I think he's an artist. And one of the reasons that I love Thousand Empty Lights so much is because this is a piece of art. And it's not just an art because it looks cool. It's not an art. It's not just art because it looks cool or has fun designs. It's art because there is alignment between the structure of the game, the content of the game, and the themes of the game, and the themes of us, our world. And I think when all of those are in alignment, you have something really special. And that's generally my opinion on art as a whole, is that the goal is not to fidget with everything until it's just so. The goal is to get out of the way so that that beam of energy can run straight along, and you can have the unification of all of those things. So for Thousand Empty Light, you have this diegetic text, and the basic setup of this game is that you are a contractor, and you are on a planet, an unadopted planetary body 154. It's uninhabited and hostile to colonization. And on that planet is just oceans, endless oceans. And under those oceans, there is this Hasmos company station, outpost. We don't really know what it's for. But it's you would enter it here, and you would go all the way to 5, and your goal in this game is just to restore the power. That's what Thousand Empty Light means. But Thousand Empty Light is in fact a nonsense phrase, and where Alfred Valley got that is a random sort of mission or title generator. And even in that, I think there is this consistency or coherency in the spirit of solo roleplay, is that Alfred saw this Thousand Empty Light, he liked how it sounded, and then he said, okay, well, I'm just going to build a game around that. And that's incredible. And so, yeah, I mean, if you think about it, the Thousand Empty Light would just be, you're going through these and restoring all of these 1,000 lights. You're restoring power, these empty lights. And on the surface of it, that is all it is. You go in, you travel across to all of these different stations. It's about, I think they said, 1 kilometer across. And then you go back and you leave. Obviously, there'll be more that happens in that. But I just want to step back for a second and do a little bit of a thought experiment with me. And in this thought experiment, I think we reveal what makes this game so special. Wherever you are right now, you may be alone. You might be alone in the room you're in. You might be alone in your house or in your building. You might live somewhere rural where you're alone for a while. You might be right next to somebody right now and be feeling alone. And no matter what, though, if you're watching this from Earth and not like the ISS, if you are watching this on the ISS, please comment. But otherwise, if you're watching this on Earth, if you were to draw an arrow from you in any of the cardinal directions, extend that arrow far enough and eventually you're going to hit somebody else. Okay. And so, yes, that's not to say you can't be alone, considered alone, but it's just to say on Earth, we're never anywhere near as alone as our character is right here. This is submerged under an endless ocean in an uninhabited planet, and there is no one here. And think about how lonely that is. This is the dungeon of this game, okay? And so I think that, and sometimes, I don't know, I don't know if artists or game designers always understand the thematic underpinning of their game. I don't think it matters, but I do know that Alfred Valley said that he came up with the idea of this while he was sitting up with his, I think it was newborn, maybe young kid, and as they went to sleep, and he was sitting alone in the dark, which is, if you've ever done that, or to me, when he said that, it reminded me of working night shift, and you're in the dark, and it is a surreal experience that you don't experience a lot as an adult, where you're just kind of like sitting awake in the dark, and you're exploring the texture of that darkness, of that emptiness, of that loneliness. And I think really that's what this game is. And that's what solo role playing is, in a way. It is an exploration of the texture of our loneliness. And I know that can sound maybe sad or pathetic or hopeless, but it's really not. One of the reasons why I got into this is that in a broader way, around 5 years ago, I realized that the biggest difficulty I had in my life was that I found loneliness unbearable. I was not able to be alone. And if I was alone, I would frenetically look for things to occupy my attention or my time, or I needed to get away from that as soon as possible. And so in order to bring more of a feeling of wholeness to me and more of a feeling of gratitude for just being alive, I had to acclimate myself to my loneliness. And solo role playing is such a powerful thing to do that, right? Because what we find is that when we quiet down and we do things on our own, much like this character, we can descend into our loneliness, into the darkness, into the fear of that, and we can go through our loneliness, traverse that, and somehow when we come back on the other side, we have something that we didn't go into it with, which is incredible, right? Like, think about that, like just being alone and then leaving that state of aloneness with something new. That's the alchemy of solo role play. And I just think that this dungeon thematically matches the thematic psychological exploration going on in this game so well, because it's so impossibly lonely. It's lonely to the point of bizarre, but we're looking for something here. We're looking for something, whether that's the dungeon or this is an unadopted planetary body 154 Thousand Empty Light 22, which is what the name of this station is, TEL 22. We're looking for something. So let's see what we find. Okay. I think this game is laid out brilliantly. It strikes a good balance between giving us enough of a structure to play a game, but not overdoing it. You know, as a neophyte game designer myself, I constantly have this neuroses that I'll write a sentence or something and somebody will read it and they'll say, well, what the hell does that mean? And then they won't get it. And then they'll take the game and throw it over their shoulder, right? Which is absurd. You know, I have to give the reader more credit for that. But this book was such an inspiration to me simply because of what a good balance Alfred Valley strikes here, in that even though he never addresses the player directly, other than maybe in like the last 2 or 3 pages here, there's enough here for me to understand the structure of this game. And it's cased in this in the lingua franca of like the in-universe stuff. So even like the caution here at the front, personnel are advised to not to proceed past this point if they have heightened sensitivity to darkness, tight spaces, marine wildlife, peril, bodily harm, and extreme solitude. That would be the sort of content or trigger warning that would be at a lot of books. It's cased as written to personnel. So even that was in universe. Here's a letter from the CEO. I especially love this because there is actually, let me see if I could bring up this guidebook here. One second. I would like to, I don't think that I want to keep bringing this book up over and over again as we play through the game. I would rather just use the overhead camera here, but let's see if I can get this up. Yeah, great. Okay, so I think just while I'm introducing this, I think this would be good so you could see some of this stuff here. So there's that caution, and Hasmo's a message from the director. So it's this very, patronizing corporate speak. But at the end of it, I love this. It says, please join me in taking this moment to remember lamplighter's who have fallen in the line of duty at Thousand Empty Light 22. And it's a sticker over it that says no recorded fatalities, but you can clearly see that there's all these names under it that they just half-assedly marked off. And again, here's it's divided in 2 pages here. So I wonder if we could actually get a 2-page. Let's see this. There we go. Oh, it didn't match up anyways. That's okay. Um, so here's the procedure, and this is kind of the workflow of the game, and we'll talk about this with the overview part. But again, it always keeps us in universe as is explaining all of this, and it manages to do that without having to break that. I guess at this point it'd be like the fifth wall. And so it leads us through certain things. Here's a very interesting part where it has some. Alfred worked with an actual cryptographer, and so there are these things here that you can decipher using the code. And to be honest, these look so unique that I almost wonder if different books have different codes. And Alfred, if you're watching this or you see this, I'm curious: are these written in? It almost looks like they were penned in. Actually, you don't have to. I'd feel bad if you weren't. If you're like, actually, no, they're the same. I wouldn't be disappointed. Yeah. So the greatest hazard is carelessness, and that's the company overview. So I don't want to show too many of these hazards because I would like to keep the game. As much I want to preserve as much of the mystery I can by also giving enough of a playthrough so that people feel like they get a good handle on this. I really want people to buy this game, and I think it's a special document to have. And there is actually this point here that says, do not proceed beyond this point unless you are adequately prepared. So beyond this point, we then start the actual mission. Okay. And so I will be going through this as we do the playthrough in a few minutes, and I'll let you know before that. I'll give a spoiler warning. But if we get up to that point and you feel like, hey, this sounds good, I want to play this on my own, please play this. Please buy this and then come back and watch the video later. But if you're a person that has already played it, or maybe you're like, oh, I just kind of want to play it vicariously through you, or you say, oh, playing half of it, well, that'll be okay. I can still maintain interest in it. Then please join me for the rest of the journey. But otherwise, that's the start of it. But I do want to mention one more thing before we do the overview, is that there is a second piece to this, which I consider to be maybe just as important to the overall theme and setting and vibe of this game as the book here, is that there is an actual album that a friend of Alfred's, Gus Before Christ, made to pair along with this. And early special gift boxes of this game, I believe, actually had like tapes, like you'd have to put in a tape player to play the tracks of this album. The album is called Sleeping in a Drowning Stone. I'll put the link for it down below. This is another thing that I just can't urge you enough. This is such an amazing album, and it sets the tone for this so much. And I did reach out to Alfred just to ask if it was okay if we played some of the music during the playthrough. He said he thought that would be fine with Gus if we just played it underneath the playthrough. So I will do that. The album, but I also want to play a track from it really quick, just like a 45 seconds, just so that you can hear it. This album, it is a sprawling, intimate, peaceful, but also a little upsetting, maybe. It's strange. Sometimes it has an eerie feeling to it, or maybe even some of the notes are discordant in a way that feel a little bit difficult. It feels a little extraterrestrial sometimes, a little bit mechanical, but it's also now I'm starting to sound like a New York Times art critic or something, but it's a very human album that I've listened to so much and have felt such an incredible sense of catharsis from this music that I think it is perfect for this game. But I have to be honest, even if it was not attached to this game, I think it's one of the best albums that I listened to last year. And so I will put a link to that. Those of you who did not come of age in the iTunes generation where you had to buy each song for digital music, it'll seem a bit weird because I think the album is, it's like somewhere, I think it's under $10. And so that might feel a little bit weird, especially with streaming services and stuff, but it's the only place you can get it, which I think makes it feel really special. It's not on YouTube. It's not on streaming services as far as I know. So I won't play the whole thing at full volume because I do want to encourage you to get that. We will listen to it in the playthrough, but I wanted to give just a little clip right here. If you will indulge me, we'll just do just under a minute of this. This is track 1 of the album Sleeping in a Drowning Stone by Gus BC, or Gus Before Christ. Okay. Okay. Thank you for listening to that. And again, the link will be put in the description for that. And we'll listen through that album as we're doing the playthrough. All right. So if it wasn't clear to you, my review is that this is an amazing thing that I believe that you should get. Again, if you could comment whether you think you would like for me to do a series of a solo man role-playing, ASMR, bedtime solo role-playing, let me know in the comments. But now we're going to move to the overview. So before I talk about how 1000 Empty Light is played, I just want to give a brief background of Mothership. Mothership's a really special game to me because around a year ago, I was definitely not feeling the swords and sorcery kind of 5e sort of role-playing. And I think when you're introduced to the hobby through that, you can forget that things like this exist, things that are really unique to that, really different. Now, I know, it's not that I wasn't aware of this. And of course, there are sci-fi things like Traveler, Blade Runner, stuff, futuristic, dystopian things, horror games. But Mothership really stands in a class of its own. Now, this is the first edition. So this book's this is the 0 edition. The first edition is going to be, I think I joined the Kickstarter or crowdfunding. I forgot what it was. It's still available. I'll put the link for that. I got the box set. So it'll have the first edition player's survival guide as well as the warden's guide, which is kind of the GM guide, and a mission or two, and very affordable for all of those. I'm really looking forward to that. What drew me to Mothership was this. This is a game that is every bit as complex as anything else, and it is put into around 40 pages. Okay, so many options, so many tables. The horror element of this is very real, and it asks you to really immerse yourself, and if you're the warden, immerse your players in that, and respect them. Don't worry about them getting scared. Let them know about limits and stuff like that. But one of the first things that drew me to it in a big way was the character sheet. And this is Fletcher Kryler. This is who I'm actually going to play 1000 Empty Light with. This was a character that I really liked, who I played with in an actual non-solo Mothership campaign with other humans a while back, I think maybe last year. And Fletcher is a disgraced surgeon who has taken to this outer space to just pick up contracts because he can't really find work back home anymore. And it was the character sheet that really turned me on to this. Let me see here. Make sure that, yeah. So we can forget sometimes how confusing things are. For instance, I don't want to rag on any game specifically, but suppose that we play the most popular role-playing game of all time, and after you do that for a while, a lot of that stuff comes by instinct, and we forget how complicated it can be, for instance, to say, oh, well, this is the raw score for what your stat is, but then you kind of transmutate it into this modifier, and then this modifier changes with your skills, and you have these skills, and then you check if those are applicable, and then also there's a hit dice, which is not quite your hit points, and then every weapon has its own dice, but then there are like attack modifiers, and so that can, and I actually know for a fact that can get very confusing, because I'm playing with a group right now that hasn't played before, and once you know that stuff, you kind of know it by rote, but if you're explaining it to somebody, it's quite complicated. And just looking at this sheet for Mothership, you have your stats, and there's like a flow chart here. Roll 2d10 plus 25 for each stats. And it's a D99 game, which means that we are simply trying to roll under that number for success. And so, if I'm doing a intellect check, I want to throw under 51, and it's a success, right? So the higher your stat is, the more chance you have of rolling under that. And then you have these saves. Sanity, fear, and body. And if you have to do a save, you just roll under those. Simple as can be. And there actually is an amazing character sort of generator that they even have an app for that works really well for this. So you roll up these stats, and then you select your class. Right now there are 4 classes. Fletcher's a scientist, and that augments your stats and your saves a little bit. And I'm sure there'll be other classes. There might already be for different missions and stuff. But I love this. Keep it simple right here. You can get really lost in the weeds on some games on matching, your character's archetype and species, and it's just like, okay, are you a Marine, an android, a scientist, or a Teamster? Great, because I think. Honestly, I believe that sometimes that level of ultra customization sometimes limits players. If I'm a scientist, I can do or be anything I want. If I'm a tiefling scientist that only fights under the half moon, and is also half high elf and stuff, that can shoehorn my character a little bit. I don't want to say that across the board. No hate on tiefling or high elf players or anything like that. But I do like that this was sort of just wide open. Your health is 15. Every time your health hits 0, you accrue a wound, and then you roll on a wound table, and you increase your wounds. And if you hit 2 wounds, you have to roll a death save, and you can die. And there are some things that can give you 2 wounds and kill you right away. I was playing a campaign game, and I think I got hit with a shotgun point blank, and it was like, okay, that's 2 wounds, But the other mechanic here is stress, and every time you try to at any time that you encounter some sort of eldritch horror, anytime you roll a check or a save and you fail, you add 1 stress. And this is to sort of, add some verisimilitude about working in these cramped areas of outer space, is that there's not a lot of room for error. And if you see something, chances are, especially something that you've never seen before, something threatening, something bug-like, something crawling from the walls, your stress is going to increase, and your ability to make decisions is then going to go down. And this is a really fun mechanic in Mothership, is as this stress goes up, it becomes more and more stuff goes wrong. You start hallucinating, you start panicking, maybe you start being unable to participate in combat. Maybe you start trying to hurt the other players in your party, stuff like that. And I should also mention, in Mothership, combat can very easily turn into not combat. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but the point is, most of the things you encounter in Mothership, you don't stand a chance. You have to imagine sort of like if you were to encounter a xenomorph and you had no idea what a xenomorph is, right, from Alien, you think you'd hit it with a flashlight for 3 HP and kill it? No, you'd run like bloody hell away from it as fast as you could. If you needed to, maybe you'd kick it in the face to like stop it from chasing you in a pipe or something. But that's pretty much the model here, is that things are more meant to be outrun. There are some smaller dangers and things like that, but also sometimes there is no biological danger at all. Maybe it's the ship, maybe it's space. And so you're working with this stress modifier to deal with that. And then here's another thing. So you get kind of these advantages here for your class, but then you get this trauma response. And if you enter into panic or you do fear saves, you can affect people around you, or you react in certain ways. And so each class is a benefit and a liability. And then over here is your skills, and you get kind of a trained skill, expert skill, and you could work on master skills as well. So it does say for Thousand Empty Light that a person should have industrial equipment, jury rigging, and mechanical repair. I did leave Fletcher's zoology, field medicine to surgery pathway. And because of that, I gave him industrial equipment and jury rigging, but not mechanical repair, because I just thought if he's able to do surgery and field medicine and has all these things, it's a little bit OP. You could also train a skill. In my last playthrough, I was learning theology. Fletcher has turned himself over to a higher power after being disgraced. But I don't think that we're going to be able to get the theology mastery, because it's going to take 2 years, and I think Thousand Empty Light is probably going to take less than 24 hours. And then the last thing is the loadout. So everyone gets like a patch. The patches are hilarious. Mine is a poker hand, dead man's hand, and I get a trinket, which is cigarettes and a grinning skull. And so this is, Fletcher Kryler is very much a surgeon who sees the human body maybe as like under the hood of a car. I had 80 credits. I don't believe we'll need credits in this, but I had that at last game. And the 3 things I start with is a flashlight, a rebreather, and a dive gauge. Okay. And that's actually like in Thousand Empty Light, the starting instructions for that. So the way that Thousand Empty Light is played is there's a system, and it's called Oracle. And I'm going to bring this up actually. I will bring these pages up right now, but again, when we're actually doing the playthrough, I'm just going to have the book in front of me. And the reason for that is I think I'm going to get really lost if I keep trying to switch between the windows and write everything down. So again, if you'd like a closer look at any of this, please go ahead and purchase this game. So the Oracle system, super cool way of resolving it. Basically, when you walk into any section, you're going to do a visual check. You're also going to have an audio recording. Let me back up a little bit. So you're a contractor, right? And what you're trying to do is you are, like I said, restoring power to this station. And as you move through it, in each room, there's these recording devices on the wall where the last person who went through that section, could be months ago, years ago, who knows, had to record their update. What is also kind of claustrophobic and wild is that there's no broadcasting of this message. There's an electromagnetic field over this entire planet such that there's no SATCOM. So these recordings are just from one technician to another. And so you're hearing an update from, you don't even know from how long ago. And they're giving you, when they were standing in the place where you were standing, you were listening to the recording that they have. And then you're going to make your way through the room. And then at the end of that, you're going to make a recording yourself. So this would be kind of the journaling part of the game. I'll just be speaking it out loud. But you're going to be recording for whoever is the next person to go through that room. And at the far end of the room is understood to be the power switch. And so you make it through the room and you restore the power. Okay. So that's the general mechanism that happens. So you'll come in and you'll hear that overview recording, then you'll do a visual check of the environment, and we'll be able to see like a map of the place, a diagram. So think of any like kind of 80s dystopian future movie. You see like a black computer screen with maybe like little orange lines on it. And you have like an outline of the room with some basic information of like what is where. And it might tell you like, oh, watch out for this or that, and then give you some warnings. And then you're going to do this visual check. And this visual check, you can ask questions using the semiotic standard on the back of the book here. This is another just brilliant piece of solo role-playing input here. And I believe this was developed by someone who worked on Alien. I don't know if it was Geiger. I don't want to speak on that, but I'll remember it. Unfortunately, it is a little small in the book itself. It's hard to read. And I do know that was a compromise in the production of it, just to make everything else the size that it was. This kind of had to be small, but that's okay because we have a PDF of it. And let me just bring this up, zoom out a bit. So this thing does so much. It's a D50 table. And after I listen to the recording, I'll go into the room and I'll do a visual check. So just say that on the recording, I don't know what the recording is going to be. I haven't played through this. But just say on the recording, it says, oh, when I was here, there was something floating in the fish tank. I don't know. But I can go in and I'll say, okay, here's my visual. I'm doing my visual check. Let me ask the Oracle some questions. So I'll say, is there still something floating in the fish tank? And I'll go ahead and roll, a D100. And let's just say here, this is a 43. And I'll go to the semiotic standard to 43. Oh, no, actually I won't. I'm sorry, because it's a D50, which is a bit of a weird roll. So we'll divide that by 2. So that would be 21.5, and then you round it up to 22. So I'll go to 22, and 22 has so much information for us. So we have no but. So is there still something floating in the fish tank? No, but, and that could be, there's a streak of blood on the side of it or something like that. And it provides us with this diagram that tells us, oh, this is moving machinery. So that is in a very, how should we say, literal sense. That's what this diagram is showing us, is moving machinery. But then under that, it gets a little bit more vague and archetypical. And so that could represent industry or a general notion of repetition, right? And so that could then, you can go back to that no but on the side of it and say, is there something floating in the tank? No, but there is something mechanical whirring underneath the base of the fish tank or something like that. That's just an example. I could use that input however I want to use that input. But we'll ask this Oracle several questions and we'll get a sense of what's going on in this room. And then we'll create a plan, okay? And that would be the R will resolve a course of action. So once I have a setup of this room, say that I go, okay, there's, I don't know, this room has I don't know why I keep saying fish tank, has a fish tank over here, and then there is a pool of dangerous fish right here, and then the power station is over here, and say like this dangerous fish goes all the way across, and then there's a supply closet here. Maybe my resolve to do is like go to this supply closet, get myself a ladder, go over here, lay that ladder across this pool, walk across it, and then go to the power station. Okay, perhaps that could be my plan. Sorry for that terrible tiny picture, but I hope you get it just from my narration. And then once we resolve what we're going to do, we'll actually do it, and each step of the way, we'll use that Oracle as well as any stats or saves that we have to determine if we were able to successfully do that, if anything came up along the way that we weren't expecting, and then we'll resolve that using the various dice rolls and or oracles and or stat saves, checks, stuff like that. And then we'll conclude, like, what's the outcome? Did I lose some HP? Did I get stuck somewhere? Did I die? And then after that, the LE is leave evidence. So now we will record something just telling the next person who comes through what just happened. Okay. And again, that's kind of the journaling part of it. The other thing is, as we move from room to room, we're also going to use a mechanism called panic. And this is also if our stress gets very high. But at the very minimum, it's when transitioning through sections. This is a D20 roll. And let's see, I have probably the most D20 out of any die. Okay, yeah. So this is a D20 roll. And we're going to roll this, and then you compare it. I rolled a 20 here, and it will tell us like this new condition that we have. And so the 20 right here, let me see if I could bring up panic. Yeah. I'm going to try to adjust the size of it. Okay. So say I rolled a 20. Say it was the first check I did, and I rolled a 20. And I said, gee whiz, that's pretty tough, right? Because a 20 says that I'm going to black out and that it's fatal. It is fatal unless emergency aid is administered. So you might say, well, that's ridiculous. Like on your first room, how are you supposed to do that? Well, you only apply panic checks. You only apply the panic checks that are equal to or less than your current stress score. So again, when we start out, my character's stress is only 2, right? And so if I rolled a 20 on the first time that sorry, I'm just trying to get it so you could, I don't know how important that is, but yeah. So that's a 20. If I rolled that on the first room, it would do nothing because my stress is only at a 2. But every time I fail a stat check, a save, anything, or anything really scary happens or unexpected, I gain a stress. And so when my stress is an 8, anytime I roll anything 8 or less, I have to put it, I have to add that effect, okay? And so maybe if you look at 7, I gain 1d5 stress each time you encounter a previously encountered sign on the semiotic standard. So if I roll the same d50 on that again, I get a 1d5. And I also just want to mention that I know that most people think a 1d5 is supposed to be calculated, but your boy has a totally fair and balanced and not at all lopsided 1d5 die. So I'll be using that when I have to roll a 1d5 for that. A lot of these have like time or duration effects. We'll see how much of an issue that becomes. I may or may not adhere to that because it's my game. It's my choice. So that's pretty much it in terms of the overview to how to play, except for one last thing. And the very last thing, almost last thing. This is the code. We're not going to do this, as I said, just because I want to leave this as a surprise. So that's the penultimate thing. This is the incident table, but I want to show you the one in the book. So let me actually find this because it has a really good diagram of it, and then I'll show you like my homemade version of it. 1 second. Okay, great. So under the Oracle, we have incidents and near misses. Personnel are required to follow health and safety protocol. It's the responsibility of each individual to manage their own safety by using an incidents form. Incidents and near misses include, and it has a whole bunch of things that it could be, things that you could find on the semiotic standard table. There is a D20 table of hazards that we can roll on when we encounter something. Unsafe disrepair, excessive noise, interpersonnel threats, I guess if there's more than one person here. And for each incident observed, update your form by assigning an unused incident label and apply a 1d10 score to the incident. Now, if that doesn't make any sense, it's going to be a chart like this. So say I have an unstable platform, A, And this is the first incident I encounter. Okay. And I will roll a 1d10 for that. And we roll a 3. Okay. So I put A3 because I know that there's an unstable platform that hasn't necessarily, I didn't fall off of it. It didn't break, but I'm walking on it and I say, that's a bit of an unstable platform. Okay. So I apply a 3 to that. The next thing I find is a crab swarm. I roll a 1d10. Okay. 6. Then I find some sharp debris. Roll a 1d10, 7. And by this time, you're probably thinking, what are we doing here? Well, now I encountered seawater corrosion. I roll a 1d10. I hit a 3. I already have a 3 marked off, A3, in that column. So that when there's more than one X in a column, this is going to trigger a repercussion. And the repercussion, it has to do with one or both of the incidents here. So whatever the repercussion is, has to be an unstable platform related or seawater corrosion related. And even best would be unstable platform and seawater corrosion. Because what this does is, if we're looking at sort of the in-universe reality of this, it increases the level of complexity. As you go through this game, you will have more and more hazards that you encounter, and they will begin to interrelate, which makes sense, right? Because if you have a loose pipe somewhere that's blowing off steam, that steam should have been going somewhere. So maybe in another room, it is freezing now, right? And so you'll determine that and what the repercussion is, and then you'll do a panic check. You'll roll on the panic table. And also to note, the 1d10 roll, however high that is, determines the severity of that. Once we resolve it, so say I decide in A3 and D3, I say, okay, this was an unstable platform, and now I was standing on it, and it actually fell, and I have damage to my right ankle, so I'm going to be limping, and I lost this many HP, and I have an injury for 1d10 hours or something like that, or I have to bandage or something. I will then erase unstable platform to make space for a new thing on that table. I'll erase both the 3 and the unstable platform so that the next thing I encounter can be added anew to this list, and it goes up to J. And so if I reach J, I'd probably go back to the beginning and list. But I'm always going to be listing in an unused row. All right. And so we'll see how this plays out. As I was reading this, I was like, man, I hope I can get away with this while I'm playing with all of you. But I did make up a sheet for that just so that this is one thing that I will show on the computer just so that we can track it. I did make this incident sheet on Microsoft Word if it comes up. Okay. So other than that, I think that now would be a good time for me to say that if you are wanting to play this game, if you are skipping ahead, and let's see, oh Lord, 48 minutes I got into it. I thought this was going to take 20 minutes in my intro, but okay. There's going to be spoilers ahead now. I'm going to enter into the actual gameplay of Thousand Empty Light, and I also am going to start the music. Let's see. And if that gets a little bit too distracting, we'll be able to turn this down. But I think this will provide a very good mood for us. Okay. Spoiler warning. We are now beginning the game. Do not proceed beyond this point unless you are adequately prepared. Your Pomeran-class craft airlift will drop you at the offshore platform adjoined to the Kazan. Check the surface level generator, enter the Kazan, and progress from section to section with caution. Before drop-off, familiarize yourself with the reference sheet at the end of this document. So we've done that already. This book has a lot of Easter eggs that are worth figuring out. Let's turn down just a little bit. Okay. Serve God, honor the corporation, but first maintain the light. Don't know what that is. Okay. It is not recommended to stay on the exposed offshore platform for extended amounts of time due to the likelihood of force 10 plus gale conditions. Welcome to Thousand Empty Light 22. Please ensure the entrance is properly sealed before proceeding. The Newmate Helper unit will guide you through the compression process. You may experience some discomfort as your body adjusts. Whilst you wait to reach working levels of pressurization, please consider completing a letter of last resort, 9L, using the form provided in your TEL-22 manual of operation on page 20. After pressurization, you will be guided to the personnel lift. Descent to section 1 takes approximately 200 seconds. Do not use the freight lift. The holding area at the base of the Kaizen houses an emergency hyperbaric chamber, washing station, and supply lockers for personal protective equipment. Section 1 is accessed via a decontamination corridor and sealed door. Check panic before proceeding. Okay, so this is that letter of last resort. Nothing to be written on the sheet except the date and signature of the sender. Sentences not required may be deleted. If anything else is added to the letter, it will be destroyed. So this just says, my dear partner, offspring, parents, loved one, I must leave you. My total, and then that's his admin use because it'll explain what happened. Loss of life, loss of faculty, transfigurement is not in vain, for I have served a greater purpose. I have helped build a greater future. I have departed doing what I love. I want to say thank you for everything. I am sorry for everything, or I regret nothing, and I will always be with you. And so I think what Fletcher, if I know my chap Fletcher, is a very bitter person. And I think because of that, Fletcher's going to say, to my dear partner, I must leave you. I have departed doing what I love. I regret nothing. I will always be with you. And we'll sign and date that. Okay. So I believe Kaizen West here is its own kind of zone that we should treat as like the first zone. And right here is going to be the recording from the previous lamplighter. All right. And so maybe I'll give a little bit of a dramatic reading for this. So first recording. I've got a bone to pick. If you leave a form for people to fill, maybe make sure you leave a working pen. Just a suggestion. Must be a pressure thing. My wife and son will have to go without reading my impassioned parting words. Okay. Now remember, this is the lamplighter before me, not me. Entry 2. As you may have established, I have arrived at the Kaizen. I'm soaking. The waves nearly carried me off. It's daytime. Well, you can see that from the timestamp, but it's dark out there. Might as well be twilight. All right, and then says, there go my ears. Don't know what that means. Oh, maybe that's the descent here. Quite the welcome party down here. The lift doors opened, and I was greeted by hundreds of dead crabs. Took me a while to be sure they were all dead, what with the torch casting shadows. The ground's damp and loose. I don't trust the floor on the west side. Stepping through those crab bits sure was unpleasant. The hyperbaric chamber is sealed shut. The supply lockers seem empty. Typical. So here we are. The way the others talk about this place, you'd think it was a haunted house or something. The sound down here does do weird things. They probably pissed themselves. Then there's this groaning noise. I would bet that's the water outside. You know, it could almost be peaceful if you close your eyes. Anyways, I'm proceeding to section 1. Wait, gotta make my panic check. 70 meters, it says in the manual. Either that's just plain wrong or my gauge is out by... It's a 1d100 roll. Let's turn down just a little here. Okay. All right. 83. Yikes. Either that's just plain wrong or my gauge is out by 83 meters. And so they said it was going to be 70, I believe. 70 meters. Yeah. So instead of 70, it's 153 meters. And then the next entry, can you hear that? And then stop. Okay. Oh, okay. So that's what we get here. So I'm in the first room here. And what we want to do now is just follow the oracle, right? Because the oracle is going to shepherd us along. And so we have this initial reading here. And here's some information we have. We went down further than we thought we would. We're at 183 meters deep. There were a bunch of dead crabs when this guy got out of the elevator. There was nothing in the supply lockers. They seem empty. The ground is damp and loose. And stepping through crab bits, there's a groaning sound, which this fellow indicates was the ocean around him. But I guess I don't know if it's a fella. I characterize it with a masculine voice. And then the sound down here does do weird things. So this is a big, all the panic check stuff is related around, pressure problems or narcosis, like your blood nitrogen level getting too high, which truly, like, medically does do these things, like mess up your orientation and cause hallucinations and stuff like that. And so, all right, so we want to figure out what's going on here a little bit more. So this seems to be, we went down this Kaizen, which a Kaizen, as far as I know, and if I'm wrong, you tell me, but my understanding of it is if you have a Kaizen, it's like this hollowed out thing that you use if you're going to build something like on the seabed, right? Like this is like the ocean right here. And you need to maybe like put a pillar to a bridge here. You're going to put this thing down into it and then slowly remove the water out of it until it is empty. And so all around it is ocean, but this itself is empty. And so I guess we went down into this Kaizen, and then there was a depressurization that happens, and we're headed into this initial locker room, which I don't have a wonderful guide for that, other than maybe this right here is the little layout for that. So let's see here. I'm soaking, got down here, the lift doors open, greeted, stepping through. Hyperbaric chamber is sealed shut. All right, so let's do that as the first semiotic standard check, and I'll just do this one on, get this in a readable format here. I'll do this one on here so that you get a chance to understand how this works, but the future ones I'll just do on my guide. All right. So the first question I have for the Oracle is the hyperbaric chamber door still sealed shut? So this is going to be an 88. And so that would be 44. And 44 is yes. Undoubtedly yes. But the input I get is containment, entrapment, and procedure. All right. So that one, if we see 44, is like that grate. It looks like with a little large fry in the middle and a lock. All right. So yeah, the hyperbaric chamber is sealed shut. And it's some sort of containment procedure. There's something inside that is trapped inside of it. That it could be biohazard, could be gases, could be life form. We really don't have a great idea of it. But we know that it is sealed off. And I could say, are there any crab guts or shells still hanging around? Like, is the floor still covered in crabs? Okay, and for this, I rolled a 43. And for that, it would be a 43 divided by 2, 20, 1.5, 22. I think we did 22 in the practice. 22, yeah, 22 is no but. All right, there's no crabs, but, and we have this sort of moving machinery. No, there aren't, the crab shells are not around, but you do hear somewhere in the next room over a mechanical whirring sound that does sound a little bit, maybe like that. Like it sounds mechanical, but gee whiz, if you didn't know any better, it almost sound like crabs moving a little bit, right? Okay. Is the air safe to breathe in this room? Why don't we ask that? That is going to be a 10 and a 2, 12. So that's a 6. And 6 is no. Slip hazard, uncertain notion. We'll go with uncertainty. And we'll say, yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem okay to breathe it. It doesn't smell right. Something about it smells it's a strange, not quite rotting, kind of sweet, but because it's sweet, it's vulgar. And so you probably want to use a rebreather. And I think the rebreather device has some directions to it. And by the way, if we get any of these pressure problems, then we're supposed to go in that hyperbaric chamber. So for now, oh well, we can't get into it. But if we start having stress, and you know what? In fact, I think to be fair to the in-universe reality here, I do think that I need to add a stress because I thought that this was going to be 70 meters down, and we're 143 meters. That would be very concerning to me if I was an operative. Okay, so we have this rebreather. So let's just trust that this rebreather is doing its job. And just want to make sure that there's nothing here that says prolonged exposure. Is okay. Yeah, I don't. Until we find out something different, we'll just say that's fine. And the rebreather is keeping myself safe. Okay. And let's see here. So the other question I might ask is, are there any? Does there appear to be anything in the storage lockers? That's a 34 divided by 2, 15, 17. 17 is no, but low temperature, survival slowness. No, but there appears to be a refrigeration unit, and there is something in this refrigeration unit. Okay, so the question I want to ask then is, can I open the refrigeration unit without, is it unlocked and able to be opened? And that's a 58, 25, 4, 29. That is yes, but noise, distraction, attrition. I'll say yes, it's able to be open, but you know what? Yes, it's able to be open, but there's no power here. So everything is rotted. So you have to determine if you really do want to open it, because it's possible that smell is coming from there. Okay, let me ask this. If I do open it, is there a chance that, I know there's probably a chance I could find something dangerous there, but is there a chance that I can find something valuable or useful in there? 22 divided by 2, 11. No. Radiation sickness. Okay, so we won't open the refrigerator. We'll keep the refrigerator sealed. Is there any supplies in this room that could be of use to me? 45 divided by 2. Sorry, I'll keep forgetting that. So that's 22.5, 23. No, but uneven surface, imbalance, imperfection. We could say no, there is no supplies available to you in this room. But it does not pose any immediate threats, but also imbalance. Hey, I'll tell you what, maybe there is one hazmat suit or rebreather that's exactly the same as the one I'm wearing, except it's a better size. It's better fit for me. And so it's going to fit over my nose a lot better. So I can exchange that one out. Now that's no real change there, but we'll just consider that a fresh rebreather. That's good. And I say that we go ahead and we act. I do need to have something in this room that I attempt. I do want to do some sort of check. And I want to say, let's see, we know there's no supplies in here. Oh, okay. Let me try this. Is there anything that I can use to fashion an improvised weapon, like a chair leg or anything? Well, let me just say this. Is there any furniture in here? 23 divided by 2, 10, 12. No. Low gravity weight, unreality. So it's low gravity, so probably the furniture can't exist unless it's bolted down. Okay. And is the gravity low enough that I can kind of float, or is it just like my steps are a little bit longer? 46 divided by 223. No, but no, the gravity is not enough that you could float, but your steps are a little bit lighter. And I'll say, okay, you know what? We're just going to make it through. This is the introductory room. So no problem. So we're just going to go to the other side of it. And before we exit, we're going to just do a panic check. And our stress right now is 3. And so if we get anything 3 or lower on a D20, then we'll be in trouble. But otherwise, 7. So 7 would have been idea fixation, but we don't have that yet. We don't have... Let's actually add an incident label just to the refrigerator. Let's just say radioactive foodstuffs. That could be something that comes up later. And I'm going to roll a D10 for that. 10. Oof. Okay, so that means if radioactive foodstuffs can be severely dangerous to us later. Okay, but other than that, it looks like we made it through to the other side. So we're going to continue on to the first room. Okay. Section 1, the concierge. Section 1 houses the security facility for the site, located on the south side of the tunnel, including an armory. Note, access is restricted to personnel with firearms experience. Directly east of this is the monitor room. Reports indicate the closed-circuit monitoring system that runs throughout TEL-22 has been compromised. Storage units line the north side. Okay. Office cubicles... take up the bulk of the floor space for Section 1, and meeting rooms, including an executive suite, form the majority of the remaining space. A rudimentary kitchen area is located towards the end of the section. Do not view, download, or disseminate documents or systems for which you are not authorized. Check panic before proceeding to the next section. Okay, so I do just want to mention one thing that I did see while I was scrolling through here earlier, and I think it's important. And that is at the bottom of this page, it says, caution, You can see that right there. This is on just page 3. A high-value asset is situated in TL22. As outlined in your non-disclosure agreement, it is forbidden to discuss this asset or the circumstances of its containment with anyone unless permitted by your Hasmo security coordinator. Do not interact with the high-value asset. So again, we don't know what that is or what it could be. Okay. So let's just recap here. This is the basic layout, and it looks like... a nice pointer pen. Okay, so section 1, located on the south side of the tunnel. So this is an armory, and directly east of this is a monitor room. And it said that the closed circuit system has been compromised, so we'll need to find out what's compromising it. And then there's these storage units on the north side. Okay. Office cubicles take up the bulk of the floor space. I don't know why, but that's very disturbing to me to have all of these office cubicles in this place that's completely abandoned. Imagine that work assignment. It's like, yeah, we're going to transfer you to an uninhabited planet, but we are going to give you 40 cents more an hour. And then these are meeting rooms and executive suites and a little kitchen right here. So simple enough. Hypothetically, we should want to just get from A to B here, and then B, we would just restore power, leave a note, and leave. Okay, but let's listen to the recordings. 1. Don't enter the cubicles. I mean, unless you know what you're doing. My eyes were still blinking from the light back in the Kazan, and I stepped right into it. The place is booby-trapped. Managed to move out of the way just in time. Think I got a bit of a haircut. I've explored this half of the section. There must be 100 rooms in this place. I took a look at the armory. Still seems partially stocked. There's a makeshift tunnel leading off the monitor room. I shone the torch down there. Nothing but darkness at the end. Fuck that. The next one. There's a ton of long, dark rags hanging down from the ceiling over the middle. A forest of the stuff. There's a note pinned to the first row of the cubicles. It says... Look all you want, but if you take, we'll know. No clue. I spotted scaffold planks rigged against the north side over the top of the cubicles. Time to move on. Next one. Just... Is it there? Next one. I'm here, just about. I left the last module and there was a groaning again. Closer this time. I saw something reach through the last door. Pegged it to the armory. Had to smash open one of the lockers to get a revolver. I can't stand guns, honestly, but slow down. Next one. I was nearly up to the cubicles when it came in. Another crab. But this thing's a giant. That screech. It's fast, long, pointy legs. I managed to scramble up onto the scaffold walkway, but it got me in the back. I pulled the boards along with me as I went. Came up to the cubicles, but no further. I think it hears me. It hasn't got me that bad. I have the power switched on. I haven't switched on the power just yet. I might just take a breather, you know. Hear that noise? What is this place? I saw papers in one of those meeting rooms. What's Project Hellmouth? Okay. Wow. A lot of information here. Very exciting. So we have an armory down here and a monitor room, but the monitoring is compromised. And so I think we're going to probably try to get to the armory. He's saying don't go near the cubicles, which is pretty hard because in order to get to B, I really need to go one way or the other with the cubicles. It was booby-trapped. My eyes were still blinking from the light back in the Kazan, and I stepped right into it. The place is booby-trapped. Okay. Still partially shocked. There's a makeshift tunnel leading off the monitor room. I shone the torch down there. Nothing but darkness at the end. So there is apparently a tunnel that if we go in this room right here, we can actually, it can lead us somewhere else. And then there's a ton of rags hanging down from the ceiling. Interesting. Look all you want, but if you take, we'll know. Okay, so there's obviously some other people that are making a home here. Seems pretty dangerous. And then there's scaffold planks rigged against the north side over the top of the cubicles. So that means maybe people are staying in the cubicles, like treating them like little houses. And finally get to the other side, and there's something, this groaning sound, and he sees something reach through the last door. Ugh. Yeah, and so had to pegged it to the armory. Not sure what that means, but had to smash open one of the lockers to get a... Okay, pegged it, I think, meaning like I ran. That might be British. Peg-legged it? Okay. I guess we'd say I hauled ass to the armory. Had to smash open one of the lockers to get a revolver. I can't stand guns, honestly, but here, and then slow down. And then it was another crab. This thing's a giant. That screech. It's fast. It's fast. Okay. So we've got our work cut out for us here. So let's refer to the oracles. So what we'll say, we have this visual thing set up. Oh, you know what? We'll just assume for the Kazan that I did record everything that happened there, but I'll make sure to make a recording as I leave this room. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. I think that we are going to go straight away to the armory. There's no reason to mess around and waste time. This guy presumed safety and wasn't doing it. So we'll go to the armory. We'll try to grab a gun or something, some kind of weapon. We'll go into this monitoring room, try to get some information about that hole there and see if we could boot anything up. And we'll go to the storage and see if there's anything of interest in there. Once we do that, we're going to, as stealthily as possible, we're going to maybe do a speed check and try to get by these cubicles as fast as we can. And in fact, trying to see, I think in addition to the speed check, what I'd also like to do is a intellect check, just to see if I can tell anything to do in that monitor room. Now, anytime we do a check, technically it's when you do a save, but anytime we do a check, we're going to increase stress. Okay. So that's my plan. Armory, monitoring room, storage, peg it, hoof it through these cubicles, and then do I want to go to the kitchen? No, I don't need anything in the kitchen. So then we're just going to restore the power and move on to the next one. Okay, so that's it. So we'll ask the oracle here a couple questions. So the first question is, can I find a weapon in the armory? Am I able to make it to the armory without any problems? 90 divided by 245. Yes. Hazmat suit, emergency contamination. Okay. So, yes, I think I make it to the armory, and I think that I just have to don a hazmat suit to go into the armory. Is a hazmat suit available? 33 divided by 2, 15, 7, what would that be? 16.5. 17 is no, but low temperature, survival, slowness. Okay, so no, but it's colder in there. It's low temperature to keep contamination from living, but it's very cold in there, so I probably can't spend too much time in that armory. Okay. So if I'm in the armory with the hazmat suit on, can I find, are there any weapons inside this room? 21, 10, 10.5, 11 is no. Okay. Is there any supplies inside the armory? 40, 20. No, but alien form, unfamiliarity, novelty. So we can say no, but there is a device that appears to have some sort of mechanical computerized usage to it hanging on the wall. Is it the size that I can take it? 40. Oh no, maybe that's 4. Sorry. So that would be 2. No. It's a magnetic attraction bond. It has a magnetic bond to it. All right, so let's say I'll do an intelligence check. Can I find some way to disarm that magnet to get that thing off the wall? So my intellect is 51, so hopefully we can do a good roll for this. Yeah, 63. So I was able to get it off the wall. And let me do an intellect check again and say, am I able to tell what this thing is now that I have it off the wall? 82. Yes, I am able to. And now I'm just going to use the Oracle. I'm not going to use yes, but or anything like that. I'm going to say, what is this thing? 73 divided by 2, 35. So it'd be 36 and a half, 37. Storage utility. Oh, so maybe it's a device that I have to open. Okay. Can I open it just like manually without damaging it? Yes or no? 63 divided by 2, 31.5, 32. Yes, but gas storage risk. Okay. So I guess I'll do a body check on this to make sure to see if there's any damage from whatever gas comes out of this. Let's check that. Definitely not. That's a 91. So I open it up and some maybe liquid nitrogen comes out of there and gives me a sizzle on my wrist, my left wrist. And so we'll say that's going to, I'll roll a little caltrops here and say that'll do what kind of damage here? Of course, 4 damage. So we'll bring this down to 11 on the character sheet. Okay. But once inside, what is inside there? Let's find out, Oracle. 54, so that's 25, 27. Hazardous material, alert temptation. What could a temptation be? Maybe something that is dangerous. It could be useful, but it also could be very dangerous. You know what I'm going to say? You know what I think I'm going to have? I think what's in there is some combat stims. I think I got ×2 combat stims. And I think what, I don't know if anything in the, we'll give a ×2 on that. I don't know if anything, maybe we can look in the Mothership book here. If there's a weapons list. I'm trying to see if there's anything comparable to this. Equipment table 17. I know I'm using the wrong edition, but this one I got right now. All right. We have the rebreather. Oh, that actually has my rebreather. Filters air and allows for underwater breathing for up to 20 minutes at a time without resurfacing. So not quite what I thought. Stim pack grants an immediate 2d10 to health and temporarily increases strength in combat by 2d10 each for 1d10 hours. There's a danger of addiction and overdose if used frequently. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Okay, I'm going to give myself just 2 of those. We don't want to go wild here. And so I get some health from that, and I would get some strength in combat for 1d10 hours. That's incredible. So I can roll on that at the time that would come up. if I needed to. And just excuse me 1 second. I'm just going to pause to put a little bookmark here. Okay, so a solo role player's best friends right here. These are Post-it. They have other ones, but these are pretty cheap on Amazon, and I really like the way that you can kind of just grab them out of there. So I could label this later, but we'll go ahead and just put that right there so I can quick reference that later if I need to look that up. Great, so we got some combat stims. Okay, so now we're going to proceed to the monitor room. And in the monitor room, let's see, let's do an intellect check to see, you know what? Oh, good. So we have the speed and combat. 3, 5, 27. Okay, so my intellect is 51. Can I determine what is wrong with the monitoring system? 18. Okay. So what is exact? So yes. So now let's look here. What is the problem with the monitoring system? It is 16 divided by 2, 8. A laser, light, or fire. Okay, let's say that there's been like a fire in the central recording hub. Is that central recording hub down this hole that is in the ground right here? I'm going to turn the background music down because that's a pretty intense track, but let's listen for a second. Ooh, yeah, like I said, some parts are difficult. Okay. 95 divided by 2, 47.5, 48. Yes. Okay, so yes, it is down there. I'm trying to think if I want to. So if you recall, in this part right here, it says that there was this hole in the room. He shined a flashlight down there, and he couldn't see anything but darkness. You know, I have to say, if I was doing solo play not on camera right now, I think I would follow that down. But what I'm worried about is I don't have a layout for that. I could technically create a layout for that, but I am eager. My goal was to get to the second section here. So I think I'll hold off on that for now because I have to remember my objectives. My objectives is to restore the power. But if I went down there and restored it, I'd be able to see what's happening everywhere. And I would be able to anticipate where there are dangers. All right, how about this? If I go to the end of the room and there are no other dangers in this room, I will come back and I will check down that hole. I think that's reasonable. Okay, so we have our stim. Now we're going to go up to the storage area. And is there anything in the storage area that can be used? Any weapons or equipment? 89, so 44.5, 45. Yes. Okay, that was the hazmat suit contamination. So we'll say, okay. The only check I could say I wish they had in this game was something like a presence or perception check to say, like, can I see these things? Am I able to notice them? Yeah, so let's say, I guess we'll just use it feels kind of cheap continually using my intellect check because that is my highest stat. So why don't we use the Oracle and we'll say if I get 25 or better, that means that there is something in this room. So we'll have to divide it by 2. Okay, 51. So that is 26. So yes, there is something in this room. And why don't we say I can actually, there is a list here of items, specialist equipment, and it's a D5. And so why don't we roll on this and see what it is that we got on my lovely D5. What is in the storage room? 4. Parachute lung. In the event of compression failure and or catastrophic flooding, parachute lungs were installed regularly throughout the tunnel. Resembling fluorescent backpacks, these safety devices are operated by strapping to the body and pulling on the cord. During rapid inflation, the user is required to seal the edges of the lung material. The resulting soft capsule can provide the user a stable environment for 10 minutes. Interesting. So if I had rapid decompression, I can use that. So we'll give ourselves a parachute lung. Everyone should have at least one parachute lung in their life. Sorry, I just have to stretch my foot a little bit. Okay. So the parachute lung. Great. And I do apologize. I just got over being sick, so if I have a little bit of the sniffles, let me pause to blow my nose for a second here. Don't want to torture you with that. Okay. So we got a parachute lung, and now we're going to do a speed check to see if I'm going to get across here fast enough. So my speed is 35, not a great chance, but let's see if we do. No, 88. So I definitely do not make it across there. And let's say I encounter a hazard. Now, in addition to that equipment book, there also, and I skipped over this, I did read this part before, and I decided that I wanted to skip it because I think it gives away too much too early. But there are 20 hazards here, and we'll be able to add this to the hazard list once we figure out what this is. So because I was not able to make it across fast enough, there's a hazard, and we're going to roll a d20 to find out what that hazard is. 14. Oh, jeez. Rats. Okay. Present in all corners of the known universe, these rodents originated from a stowaway pair accidentally brought into the facility. The extent of the infestation is unknown, nor what they feed on. Combat 40, so that means that they just have to at least roll below 40 to bite me. And they have gnarly teeth and claws of 1d5. And their instinct is 80, which is quite high, which means that any other rolls that they do, I have to get just under 80. They have 2 hit pools of 10 HP. And I want to just show you what that looks like in Mothership lingo. You see how it's 2 parentheses 10? The reason why they do that is to represent a couple different things. So basically, this villain has 20 HP, okay? But it's divided into 2 pools because, again, rats I might be able to kill. But other ones might have 3 pools of 30 HP. Am I going to be able to fight someone with 90 HP and win? Probably not. But what that allows is once I get one of those pools down, I can decide what happened to that guy. Did I blow off one of his hands? Did I, shoot him in the kneecap or something? And then maybe my character can run away. All right. These things are hungry. They will take unnatural risks for sustenance, and they will work collaboratively with other rats. So let's see. I'm running, and I will say that the rats surprised me. So I'm going to do a fear save here. That's D100. 43. Okay, so definitely didn't get that. So my stress is going to go up by 1. And my stress is at 4. And then we'll do we already did a speed check. So why don't I'm going to do a combat check. My combat is 27. And I'm going to see, I guess I'll try to hit these rats. I'm going to try to hit them. Does that sound fair? But my question is, if I do hit them, what do I hit him for? Like, what's how much do I take away? I can't think of that right now because I don't have a weapon. So let's see what this says. 1d5 damage. All right, so I guess maybe if my guy is going to punch somebody, if a dart gun is 1d5, let's say that my punch... Oh, you know what? Mothership might have this. Might have, like, bare fists. Weapons. Nail gun. Ring gun. Scalpel. No. Damage 10.2. And sorry, I really should know this, but I can't think of it right now. So 10.2 is damage. Whenever you lose an opposed check, a panic check. So I failed the fear save. So that means I'm surprised. So actually they're going to go first. So why don't I not worry about that? They're going to go first, and let's see what happens here. So the rats have the upper hand. All right, so they have combat 40. They got to roll under 40. 67. No hit. They miss. All right, and so they jumped at me. I jumped out of the way, and I'm going to go ahead and let's just see if I hit them. I have 27 combat. Okay, so 12. So I did connect. And if I can't find this in like 2 more seconds, I'm going to go ahead and say that my damage is going to be a 1d4. I think that seems like a fair damage for bare hands. Yeah, I think equipment. Yeah, that's fine. We'll do a 1d4. So let's see what I hit these guys with. A 1. All right. So I am. I'll take another hit from them. They're going to try and swing at me, so they're down to 9 in one of their pools, and they roll an 89, so they're going to miss. And then back to me. My combat is 27, and I got a 4. Wow. I'm getting lucky. So I hit again, and I hit a 4. Great. So big hit there on the rat. And at this point, I'm going to try to do a speed check and see if maybe I can get out of here and run towards the door again. So my speed is 35. 73. Okay, missed that. So the rats are going to attack again. They're looking for lower than a 40. They got a 51, no hit. And I will try to hit again. My combat's 27. I've been lucky twice. And we're not lucky again, 63. Rats are 91, no hit. 68, no hit me. 88, no hit rats. Try this one more. 23, I hit. Okay, so let's see if I could hit again here. 2. So we have a 1, a 4, and a 2. So that's 7. And once again, I'm going to try to run. My speed is 35 or less. 74. Rats attack. 99. Nope. Critical fail. Critical fail. Critical fail. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to escape with advantage. All right. So let's try to get out of here with advantage. So speed is 35. I'll roll twice. So 47. 76. This is entertainment, folks. All right, so rats attack 53. Nope, they're not under 40. I attack and an 8. Okay, so I was able to hit again and 3. So we had a 4, a 3, a 1, and a 2. 4, 3, 7. Yeah, so okay, so one of the rats is dead. Great, or at least one of their HP pools is dead. And so in fact, I'm going to roll speed again with advantage. We're trying to roll under 35. 13. Okay. Whew. I got away. And I just fought a rat for 20 minutes, so I'm going to do a sanity save, and my sanity is 46. And I got a 44. Great. So successful save there. So with good momentum, we're headed toward the outer brink of the room. But before we do that, we're just going to do an incident because this is another thing about Mothership is when you have a, like you get away from an encounter, they're still out there. You know, again, if you think about like the Alien franchise, if you escape from a xenomorph, they're still there. And so they're going to be somewhere maybe again. So these rats are still there. And I'll roll a 1d10 to see what that hazard is. And that is a 7. Okay. So if I match up with a 7 again, we got rat trouble. Fair enough. Okay. Wow, this is great. Okay, so a moment of feeling some achievement here. Let's do one more room. So I'm going to restore power to that, and I guess I'm going to give my recording now. Well, wasn't able to look what was in the cubicles because by the time I got halfway around them, I had rats nipping at my feet. Wish there was a single weapon that I had to defend myself with. I thought about hitting him with my flashlight, but I wasn't going to break that. You know what? I'm using the same voice as my other guy. I need my own voice. So I'll say to go, I was going to hit them with my flashlight, but there is absolutely no reason why I would have compromised my flashlight if I would have lost that and not been able to see anymore because this place is extremely dark. Okay, so then I also got some combat stims, which now that I think about it, I definitely should have used that during the battle. But luckily I got to the other side. I did restore the power. There's no way I'm going back to that observation room, and we're on to the next room. I can't tell if I hate or love the voice that I gave myself. Okay. Section 2, the garden. The tunnel's cross-section is taller in Section 2 to accommodate a split-level arrangement. Entry from Section 1 brings one onto a mid-level platform. And in fact, probably at the beginning of the level here, I think it would be nice for me to probably, if I could show you the map to start, right? There we go. Okay, so the upper level, entry from Section 1 brings one out onto a mid-level platform. So it looks like I'm on the left, right? Yeah. The upper level houses a grow center for fungi. This contains rows of substrate inoculated with mycelium. These specimens have been bioengineered for self-sufficiency, providing nourishment to personnel station at TEL-22 long term. Caution. Some fungi are strictly for medicinal purposes and may cause adverse health effects if consumed. These specimens are clearly marked. The lower level serves as a laboratory with multiple rooms for containment, observation, and experimentation. Much of the equipment located on the lower level is valuable and sensitive to disturbance. There's a clear signage documenting emergency procedures for contamination. Check panic before proceeding. You know what? I did not check panic before I proceeded, but that's okay. We'll do that really quick. So I'm going to roll, let's see, D20. Let me just, and see. Now my stress level actually right now, if we recall, is a 4. Because I did get that sanity save. So we'll roll a D20 and see what we get here. 18. So we're safe with that. Now the question I do have is, even though I didn't, that didn't do anything to me, I wonder if I should put that on the incident sheet. Like if that was a near miss. Maybe not. Because those all seem like very personal things that happen to you, not necessarily in the environment. Okay. So we did panic check. I'm also wondering right now why I decided to give my character a voice like that instead of just using my own voice. But I don't know. I liked it. I like the fact that I'm a no-nonsense lamplighter that gets results. Okay. So back to my recording now. I'm going to listen to the previous lamplighter. First one. This platform is more rickety than I would like. The lower level looks entirely flooded. I've been upstairs. The place is filled with thick mist. The air tastes like bitter earth. I was expecting cute red toadstools, something like that. These mushrooms have grown in tall, lanky clusters. They look like bony figures standing there all in neat rows in the dark, dripping. It's unsettling. The torchlight plays tricks. I kept seeing something pale in the corner of my eye, a person creeping, but there's no one there. Those mushrooms towering over me. I never liked mushrooms. The map shows an exit at the end of the level, but I walked around and around, getting myself worked up like a lost kid, and I never got there, so finding the steps back down to the entrance was a fluke. Next one. I feel tired. All quiet. It's just the dripping. Next. I've been in that murky water. What's it been, an hour? The lower level isn't less of a maze than the upper. There's a bunch of strange gear down here, machines and tanks. Some of them have animals in them. Dead. So dead I couldn't tell you what they were. I read the labels. Mostly nonsense to me. Stuff about beamish particles. Pretty sure there's a whole area on the north side I didn't even come close to. Several sections down here where I had no choice but to submerge to proceed. Visibility under that water is 0. Honestly, hard going. The whole thing felt like a good way to get myself killed. I should have a guideline like cave divers do. You know, those guys that get trapped tight in the bowels of hell and aren't found again for years. I'm rambling. I'm shaking now. I think the cold's got into my bones. Next entry. There. I've turned on the lights. I hope they would make me feel warmer. Stop. Okay. So we're on section 2, the garden. And basically we're on, it seems like we're on this platform right here. And on the upper platform we have some fungi for nourishment, but it doesn't sound that inviting. Let me ask, is the fungi there nourishment oracle? 18 divided by 2, 9. No. It is confusion and obscurity is the clue for that. So they're obscurity, no, but they've grown really tall such that they're like trees. Like there's like the shade of them. Okay. So very tall mushrooms up there. And the substrate inoculated with mycelium. They've been bioengineered for self-sufficiency. So the lower level, like they said, was flooded. Is the lower level still flooded? 93 divided by 2, 45, 46.5, 47. Yes. High gravity restriction and a burden. So this one has high gravity and it's flooded. So upstairs I got a bunch of mutant mushrooms and downstairs I got floods. Okay, so don't love that the last room had rats biting my feet. And so murky water sounds worse to me than creepy mushrooms. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to go up and over here. And let's just see how that works. Yeah, the lower level just seems like more of a threat to me because you have these caged animals. I mean, they said they're dead, but who knows? And this water, and up there is just weird fungi. So if I go up and around, let's do a fear Let's do a sanity check. These mushrooms probably look very menacing. 46 or lower. We need 69. Okay, so our sanity, we're going to take a little bit of a hit here. Stress-wise. And what I'm also wondering... Oh, I see. We determine the panic by when I hit something on the incident log twice. All right. So these mushrooms are really getting to me. So they must be extremely, extremely menacing. Oh boy, I don't know why I do this to myself. Oracle, are the mushrooms moving on their own at all? 38, so 15, 19. 19. No, but steep suddenness change. They're not moving on their own, but they do seem to be rhythmically dropping spores. Okay. So let's do a body check and say, are these spores affecting me? You know, are they poisonous? Must have dropped a my die. Where's my die? I can't find my other D20. I don't know what happened. Oh, it's right in front of me. Maybe my sanity's going down as well. Okay, so let's do a body check. Ugh, my body is 19. My body is not a wonderland, so I have to roll 19 or lower. I'm not very hardy. 53. Okay. So definitely going to add some stress again. So we're up to 6. And yes, these spores are affecting me. And so let's do a speed check here. Oracle, what are these spores doing to me? What do they do to people? 1. I actually think we'll count this as 100 and say that this is 50. Infrared obscurity or color. Infrared obscurity or color. It's a nice setting here. There's a emergency siren going on. So I will say that these spores are making my skin yellow. So it is possible that they are in fact somehow being rapidly inhaled and then processed. I'm going to pause this while this siren goes by. 1 second. Okay. So the spores are being rapidly inhaled, processed by my liver. My liver's having a hard time processing them, and so my skin is yellowing like it's getting jaundiced. And so that is making me very afraid. So let's do a fear check. And that's going to be an 8. So, yeah, actually I succeeded that. Cool. But it's probably still going to affect my body. Let's see if it's going to cause any damage. Body check 19, 87. Yes. So that evens out. Plus my... stress is going to go up 1 up to 7. And let's just say that this will do, why don't we say, as long as I am in this room, I have an idea. Hold. Oh my gosh. While I had one idea, I had another idea. So my first idea was to time, like to say 10 minutes of every minute I was going to have like maybe 1 HP damage. But in fact, I remember the hazards here has something fungal spores. Airborne spores have been detected in several parts of Thousand Empty Light 22, possibly originating from Section 2. There have been recorded incidents of these spores aggravating personal depth complications. So, consumption side effects. Consuming any of the fungi will require a panic check. 50% chance consumption reduces. Oh, cool. Okay. Crap. Okay, so it says consumption side effects. Consuming any of the fungi from Section 2 will require a panic check. 50% chance for consumption reduces stress by 1d5, one-time effect. And a 50% chance consumption triggers hallucinations. So why don't we do it here? So this was a good idea. I'll keep this handy, but we could take that out here for a second. So, consumption could mean eating. It could also mean insuffocation, inhaling. So why don't we'll do a 50% chance of consumption reduces stress by 1d5. So I'll tell you what, we'll just do a 1d100 and we'll say lower than 50, we get a 1d5 stress reduction. Higher than 50, we have hallucinations. 29. So we get a stress reduction, but I do think we still have a panic check. So we get a stress reduction, though, of 2. Hey, sorry about that. My camera just stopped recording, so there's probably going to be a little blip here. But we did just roll a 2 to reduce our stress. So our stress is now at a 5. But we still have to roll a panic check. A little less of a chance that we're actually going to hit any panic with it only being those 5 or under. But we still have to roll. And we got one. Okay, 2. So let's check out what that is. Roll a 2 on a panic, and that looks like we got mild euphoria. Oh, great. So I have an advantage for 2d10 minutes. Okay, so that's a really good panic, but that could become, that could be an issue over time. But we have advantage for 2d10, so let's just roll a d10 twice here. 2, 3, so 5 minutes. Okay, that's fine. So that's probably for the rest of the room. So as we are going out of the room, I think we narrowly avoided the worst case scenario with those mushrooms. However, I think that, let's see here. So, okay, am I able to make it from, is the path clear from here to the door? Let's just roll that from here to the exit, shall I say. 63 divided by 2, 30, 1.5, 32. Yes, but gas storage risk. Okay, let's say risk. So it's dark, it's unlit. So why don't we say that there is a... So we have unlit areas here. Without power, each section of Thousand Empty Light is completely unlit. Personnel should use Hasmos-issued flashlights. Risks include trips, falls, collisions, poor perception, or fear. So that's like a 1d5. Let me roll that. 2, which is a fall. Okay. So we can add that to the incident guide. We'll do a body check on that. And every time I remind myself that my body check is 1972. So we do hit the floor. So we failed that check. So our stress does go back up to 6. And then we'll just see that hit us for 3. So we'll do a little bit of this and that here. So we'll bring that down to 8. We'll put our stress up to 6 because we missed that check. And we also will fill that out on the incident sheet and roll a 1d10 for that. Balls. And the 1d10 roll for that is a 3. Okay, so as we can see, the sheet is filling up. All right. But other than that, I could say that we will make it to the other side. And so we will leave some evidence and do a panic check. So was able to make my way across this room. I decided to go on the upper deck. There were spores falling. And the fungal spores did unfortunately get in me a little bit here. But luckily they interacted with my body system in such a way that even though I think my liver had a little hard time processing with them, they did make me feel more relaxed. I kept running. The light was really poor, and unfortunately I did fall. It took a little bit of a hit and hurt my... there is actually a guide in Mothership too. Just, we don't have to do this, but just to show you kind of like some options. I believe that there is like a place that shows you like where you take damage. I don't want to waste too much. Okay, hit location. So I guess we could just try that. Roll a 1d10. Okay, a 1. So I took damage in my right leg. So we listed that on the incident form. And we made it through in one piece. We have our combat stims, and we're going to keep rolling. And so with a stress of 6, we're going to roll one more time a panic check, and let's see how we do. A 15. So no issue there. All right. So there are 3 more modules in this. Like if we look at the map in Thousand Empty Light, there are still several areas to go through, 3, 4, 5, and then we would need to make our way all the way back. So this game, beyond this, and I'm going to stop here just because we're over 2 hours. Just beyond this, I think is you're looking at, I think, three good hours of play of this game, and you can replay it to try out different ways of getting across the rooms, but just an incredible module that Alfred Valley has created. I want to thank him and Gus Before Christ for the wonderful music. Thank you, everyone who watched this. I hope that you found this review helpful, as well as the playthrough. I encourage you, if any of you would like to continue the playthrough, to do that. And please remember in the comments if you would be interested in a series called A Solo Man Role Plays, ASMR, for more lo-fi role playing that you could sleep to. Other than that, thank you, everyone. Don't forget to like and subscribe.